What is poetry in your mind?
Is to express our feelings in words.
Can you repeat that, Rosa? Rosa, can you repeat that? Come a little closer to the computer so we can hear you better.
It could be a way to express our feeling and emotions in words.
Yeah, a way to express it
in words, in beautiful, in rhythmical words, I think.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. That's one way of expressing. Anything else? Any other thoughts? What would you consider as poetry?
Well, poetry is life. It's everything around you, the beauty of the world.
Wow.
And then you express it by poetic thoughts. Hopefully, you're inspired to translate for an audience.
Yeah. Anybody else? What about Nima? What do you think? What would you consider as poetry?
Just the first thing that came to my head when you asked that question was it's anything you want it to be. I guess I just love the freedom of expression of poetry, that you are free to write whatever you want.
Yeah, look at that. You know, we're already hearing so many different ways of perceiving poetry. Does anyone else have a different idea of what poetry is? Lulu, anything?
It's like art in words.
Oh, art in words. Wow, okay. And what about you, Ada? What do you think?
It's kind of like an escape mechanism. Like if you're thinking something, you can just write it down.
It's like an escape mechanism. So when you think about something, you can write it down. All right, there's a thought. Alan, any thoughts?
Well, how about the distillation of emotion and experience in the most succinct and competent manner?
Wow. You know what? That's not that succinct, but it is pretty profound, right? That is wow. Okay. So we have so many different ways of looking at life and making poetry and perhaps recognizing poetry. When you cast your minds back to the first time you encountered poetry, that doesn't mean that you necessarily liked poetry, but what was your first encounter? Can anyone remember their very first poem? Not that you wrote it, but that you first met poetry, either in someone reading it to you or you came upon a book, etc.
When I was in probably a year 4 classroom, my teacher was trying to explain what poetry was, and she started reading poems to us.
She started to read what?
Poems.
Poems.
To our class.
So do you remember one?
No, I don't remember what they were, but it was from like a book of poems.
Oh, it was from a book of poems, right. And so you encountered that at school?
Yeah.
Yeah. Does anyone have a memory of, say, a poem that you encountered way back?
Plenty. That's the first one I heard and was captured was sea fever.
Oh wow!
I felt sea fever, I guess, but that was a school memory,
oh,
and
so
that's fading. That's fading fast after so many years.
I wonder if you can still find a copy of it online.
Oh, undoubtedly.
Oh, wonderful. So maybe we can all go look for it. It's called Sea Fever. Is that right?
Yeah, John Masefield.
Okay. So we have obviously encountered poetry at school or in bookshops. Someone's read poems to us. What about writing poetry? How many of you have been writing poetry for more than 10 years? Barbara, Nima, Rosa. Wow. Okay. How many of you been writing poetry for more than 5 years? No? Okay.
Yeah.
How many of you have only started to write poetry of your own?
Really, yeah.
John,
3 or 4 years, really.
3 or 4 years. Yeah.
Very spasmodic.
All right. Alan,
Oh no, I said over 10 years, but
over 10 years.
Hmm.
Okay, good. And Ada, how long have you been writing poetry?
Probably since like year 5 or 4.
Year 5 or
Go.
4. So what year are you in now?
8.
Year 8. So you've been writing poetry for 3 or 4 years as well. Wonderful. So I'm going to invite one of you to read your work, because that's what we're here for tonight, to listen to what you've written. Pam, can I ask you to start us off first? How do you feel about being the one to kickstart this? Are you happy to do
I think
that?
that's a bit mean, because as you know, it's the first poem I've ever written.
Okay, would you like to be called to read a bit later?
Oh, I could
don't
get it
mind.
over and done with, couldn't I?
Right, what's your decision?
Yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it now.
All right, okay, you're very brave. You're very brave, and I know we're looking forward to hearing your work. All right,
Right.
at your own time.
Hang on, I just have to locate it. Right. Well, this poem was prompted by a walk in Shakespeare Park, which I think we're so lucky to have that park and the other regional parks in our area. And it's prompted by my love of nature and also has a spiritual aspect to it. It's called The Awakening. The turquoise sea froths to white and rhythmically laps the lonely shore. A silver sliver catches the light as it breaks the surface. Tui's jabber persistently in still dormant Pahutakawa. A single oyster catcher fluffs its wings and lets out a sharp but ineffectual warning. Seagulls gather in screechy, busy mobs. A lamb bleats in the hilly surrounds, and the maternal response is fast. The cold breeze dampens the warming rays. Dark billowy formations gather on the horizon. Royal blue pukekos stalk and strut the empty grasslands, free to feed and roam at will, for now, before summer crowds. And stillness filled with promise permeates nature's play. Late winter poises for spring at Shakespeare Park.
Wow. Thank you, Pam. Thank you so much for setting us off nicely. Thank you. You know, that was, I think we had a conversation before this evening. And Pam, I told you over the phone that everything you've written reminded me so much of Shakespeare Park because of, again, I'm very familiar with Shakespeare Park as you are. And so that is a beautiful poem we have here, all about the area that's very local to us, those of us who are up here in Whangaparoa. Do people write poems only about nature and scenery? Do we sometimes write about things that are not about nature and scenery? Is there someone here who would like to read their poem that hasn't got to do so much with nature? Anybody want to volunteer? Nima? Okay, go Nima.
Thank you. So this poem is it's a memory of my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, who I called Nanima, and it's called The Proper Way to Make Tea. It is a cold, dry day in late November. I take the Jubilee line to Bond Street, change for Mile End, and wait for the District line to slowly deposit me at East Ham. She peers through the glass door, small and wrinkled like a nut. We both smile. The worn aluminium pan on the stove is waiting, thick slices of white bread brown. A faint smell of gas and toast and warm kitchen air. A stainless steel container of yogurt made last night sits quietly on the bench. 2 leftover rotli press into each other in the tin. She pours milk, water, and heaped teaspoons of tea leaves and sugar into the pan. Her tiny body stands watchfully as she nudges the heat. Reaching for the mugs, her sari slips off her shoulder. She tugs it back and the milk erupts upward and outward, the creamy brown foam puffing up, a breaking wave flecked with dark seaweed. Our wooden chairs creak, muffled voices rumble through the wall. Butter soaks the toast. We sit together, mugs of chai between us, steam mingling like breath.
Thank you. I know what a ritual it can be to make tea, and how special. Thank you, Nima. Now, I'm going to introduce another poet whose work has been published in this anthology, A Clear Dawn. She is unable to join us tonight, so she has very kindly pointed me to a website where there is a recording of her reading her poem. So I'm about to share my screen with you so that you can watch and listen. Let me just pull up her poem first. Okay, here we go. So let me share the screen with you. So this is Mariana Garcia, and she's about to read a poem called Glass Questions. I trust you can all see the screen, am I right? Okay.
Yes. Yep.
All right, here we go.
Glass Questions. My granddad was a slow talker. He liked to hold words as if they were broken glass, liked to cradle every letter and sound, like he was putting the pieces back together. My granddad was a slow talker. He taught us that asking the wrong question is the worst kind of mistake. The question mark, Granddad said, is a symbol of gravity. If you forget what it means, you never learn to fly. My granddad was a slow talker. His favorite sound was the awkward silence. He liked to watch people stop. Never get used to running, he would say, or you will find yourself chasing bottomless circles, kicking up so much dust, your lungs will learn to choke on cleaner air. Then it will be hard to own your dust storm, he said, hard to stand in the eye of it to see the sky. My granddad was a slow talker. He used to say that at its best, language is a window. Put it in the right wall and the view will never grow old. Repeat after me, he'd smile. You are my glass bottle, message bobbing in this sea.
Excellent.
So did you manage to hear that?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Very clear.
Yeah,
Yes.
oh, good. That's really good. Well, you're not able to see her. So you could only hear
No.
her. Okay, all right.
No, better enough.
Okay, so before we pull up other videos for you, I wonder if there's anyone here who would like to share his or her work. Who would like to go next? John, would you like to go next?
Chicken.
John, before you read your work, would you like to tell us a little bit about why you have chosen to write what you wrote?
Yeah, well, I've been here on my wife and I have been here on the coast for 23 years, and we've been married 60 years this year. So I thought I'd try something different, reading poetry. Just seeing we've been around for that long. And basically, most of the stuff I write is short stories, up to 500 words. And poetry is a departure for me. I haven't written all that much, but I feel as though I could write more, and I'd get better the more I wrote, obviously. Hopefully, anyway. I'll get booed off stage, perhaps.
I don't think so. Right, read for us. Tell us what the title is of your work.
Right, it's called A Panoply of Birds. And I'm probably influenced because I worked at the zoo volunteer for 7 years. So when talking about nature, as you were before with the first poem, it's been very much a big part of my life in that sense. So this is the influences at work here. A panoply of birds, scarlet and blue, their flashing wings, an artist's hands hath fashioned them. I see them, and my heart it sings, each one a bejewelled diadem. They soar like arrows on the breeze before they roost amongst the trees. Yes, birds delight the gladdened eye. The hummingbird wears colours bright. Catching my breath, I heave a sigh, for is this not a wondrous sight, to see them hover in stillest air? They pluck the nectar, sans a care. Macaws are such a raucous bird. Their squawking calls a wretched sound. Look at their beauty, it seems absurd that sounds we heard were not profound. But when they fly with grace and power, lesser birds are seen to cower. I've been to places near and far. Amazing things I've heard and seen. On beauty still my mind's ajar. But a meadowlark where I have been, that rises up and sings on high, his beauteous song his looks belie.
Thank you. Thank you.
Pleasure.
What a delight. Thank you very much, John. And we move from nature poems to something a little different. And perhaps something that you might recognize when we invite this young poet to read for us. Lulu, would you like to tell us a little bit about this poem, which I know you didn't write recently?
I didn't write it recently, but I changed a couple of the stanzas just to make it seem like a little bit worded better. But the base of the poem I wrote when I was in year 4.
Okay, tell us about what inspired this poem.
I was a very observant child, and something that I always wanted was a chair off the side of the road. Like, people leave their garbage on the side of the road for people to just pick up, and I always found it really intriguing. So I wrote a personified poem about a chair on the side of the road.
Yes, and can you tell us the title of your poem?
The Roadside Chair.
The Roadside Chair. Okay, go for it. Let's hear you.
I stand rickety and old, big but not bold. I, an old chair, it really is not fair. As my fabric starts to wear, I shed a small tear. By the road I sit because I just didn't fit.
Thank you. Thank you. Do we recognize those kind of old chairs? Well done. It's such a delight. And to be so observant.
She's got another one as well that she'd like to share if you want to do it now or later.
Well, go on. Read this. Read your other one. Tell us first what the title is.
Pollution.
Cushion, did you say?
Pollution.
I couldn't hear you.
Pollution. Pollution.
Pollution. Right. Okay.
Deep in the ocean, a plastic bag lies, or the sauce container you bought for your fries. It will take time to fix pollution. This is real, not an illusion. Did you really need a bag for that milk? Your hands are strong, not made of silk. Sauce tastes good, but isn't necessary. You could have had your fries ordinary. In hindsight, a turtle's life is now nightmarish, all because you want your hands to be cherished.
Wow. I'm glad that you brought that second poem. Thank you. Thank you. And now I've got someone who sent me a recording of herself reading her work. She sadly was unable to join us tonight, so if you bear with me, I'll share my screen with you and we can all enjoy listening to Lorraine Brockbank read her poem. Okay, here we go. Right, sharing screen with you now. This is Lorraine Brockbank.
Never alone. I am never alone, never without the voice in my head, like rustling reeds on the riverbank, whispering a sinister stream of contemptuous gibberish. I know you. I am you. You yearn to float, yet you're snagged in debris, tangled in weeds, boulders in your head, coated in moss, gathering no traction, going nowhere. Cast adrift in a river of doubt, on currents of confusion, I despair of this susurrus in my ear. Drowning beneath the flotsam of condemnation, I struggle to stay afloat, the undertow dragging me deeper. Out, damn voice! Out, I say! Out! I am never alone. Never without the voice in my head, like a scurrilous scorpion piercing my ear, a taunter, a raver, a thought enslaver, berating, belittling. You and me, same species we be. You're a fraud, a faker, not a move maker. You're naive to believe that you can achieve greatness. Noxiously naive and woefully weak, with no sting in your tail. You are doomed to fail. Release me from these pinching pinchers, I wail. Leave me alone, I moan. Grant me peace from your ominous drone. The sniping never stops. Out, damn voice! Out, I say! Out! I am never alone. Never without the voice in my head, like a cumbersome python hissing in my ear. The slow-moving predator squeezes my soul, suffocates my sanity, odiously hissing. You and I both shed our scaly skins, exposing our vulnerability, unveiling our degraded selves within. Legless, we slither and slide, rise and coil, camouflaged by undergrowth, spitting, self-serving, vindictive wrath, treacherous belief. Wrestling in pain against the puncturing, brutal fangs, my ribs are crushed, constricting my breathing, no blood reaching my brain. Into darkness I faint, awaiting death. The venom never stops. Out, damn voice, out, I say, out.
Good.
Wow.
That's different.
There's drama, there's emotion, right? Wasn't that something? I'm so grateful to Lorraine for thinking to record and share her poem with us. Now, I wonder if we would like to invite. Are you ready, Barbara? Do you think you'd like to read your poem for us now?
Hi.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about how you made your first foray into poetry writing.
I wrote poems when I was a child. So just a way of expressing how I felt. I did creative writing classes in my early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
Learned how to polish them. And then I put it on the shelf for a while. And when my husband died, one night I just sat down and pulled out all the letters I'd written to him, and I started writing them into poem form. And all the training sort of just kicked in. And the first night I wrote, I think I wrote 10 poems, and I was up until about 11, 12 o'clock at night. Some of them were easy to write and they just came. Some of them were really hard. The 2 poems I'm reading, one I had to work really hard on. One was it was just there. As I said last night, my husband died suddenly on the 20th of December last year. So this has been my journey and trying to deal with the fact that I never really got to say goodbye. I never got to say I love you one more time and all of that sort of stuff. So this poem, he took photo footage. He flew a drone. The little dog basically got raised with him flying his drone around. So she's not fazed by drones flying where other dogs are. And this one just came to me. We were down at Stanmore Bay and there was a guy flying a drone, and we both followed the guy across the soccer fields because I hadn't seen a drone fly since he died, you know. And we went chasing this guy, and this guy's trying to find a clear space to fly his drone where there's nobody. And the 2 of us are following him, as you do. I wrote this on the 2nd of May. Today we saw a drone, Goldie and me. It reminded us of you. We watched it fly. I remember the trips, the places we went, motels to stay in, the footage you took. Rivers, coastlines, mountains, hills. Goldie went up for a pat. A surprised man said, most dogs are scared of drones, but not her. She was raised to be used to drones. You flew that drone, upset a neighbour. He flew it over the neighbour's property, and she got so annoyed she came and told him to stop. And the other one just expresses what it's like to be going through grief. This one I had to work on. It took a long time to write. I must have written about 4 or 5 versions of this before I came up with this. I called it tunnels. What are tunnels? Long, dark places, a passage travelling from A to B. My tunnel is long and dark. The end is far away. No pinpoint light for me. There is no shortcut. One must travel through. Emotions like storm clouds, they come and go. How we got here, no explanation, no escape, no instant miracle.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you for sharing. So now I would like to ask if Ada would like to read her piece. Ada, I think you can take your time, but you do need to draw a little closer so we can hear you a bit better, because you're coming through sometimes a little bit faint. Good, right. Good, strong voice, let's hear you.
When did things change? When did hair ties and our wrists get replaced with embedded lines? When did life get so confusing? When we stop believing? It's like a children's story with a twisted ending, like a road that leads to a cliff, like a happy ever after for the villains. When did people stop planning a surprise and start spreading lies? The lies spread like wildfire, then suddenly this screaming, scratching, screeching. When it stops, there's no telling. It's like an addiction with no real reason, no ammunition. When was the last time someone didn't lie or didn't fake a cry? I don't know, but I'm fine. When did we go from sleepovers to hangovers? Getting drunk, getting high, not in the right state of mind? When did we stop caring about tomorrow or what might happen if we drug instead of sip, if we drive or get a cab, if we lie or tell the truth? Because why care if you're just trying to numb the pain? But I'm fine. When did we go from bumming off bridges to stepping off ledges? People ask why are the suicide rates so high? Maybe the words that cut deep got to them. Maybe they didn't want to deal with this messed up world where every smile, every word, every promise, every hate can be wiped away with just one word. Never. Never loved you, never cared, never told the truth, never in the whole wide world want anything to do with you. Those words kill, suffocating their victims before they know it. They're tying knots, speaking truth until finally they set themselves free. But I'm fine. It may be dark, maybe morbid, but 1 million people die from every year from suicide. 800,000 of them are teens, and all I can say is when. When did they need someone but were brushed away as another dramatic kid? When did they go past breaking point? When did someone turn them away and let them go astray? When did their minds get poisoned with reality? When did their minds change? When did we lose ourselves? When? When did we start saying, I'm fine?
Very good.
Thank you, Ada. Thank you. Tell us again how old you are.
13. But when I wrote it, I was 12.
You were 12 when you wrote that. All those questions that a lot of us adults ask. Thank you very much for sharing your work. Is there anything you'd like to talk to us about this piece that you've just read? What prompted you to write it?
Initially, I was writing it for school, and because we had to write a spoken word poem about something we were passionate about, and I kind of just chose that subject and ended up just kind of like writing everything I'd seen, like everyone I'd met and stuff.
Thank you. So you've just shared a lot of your experiences with us along just under that umbrella of the big question, when? And that was the title of your poem, wasn't it? When?
Yes.
Thank you. Now we've heard all these amazing works that tell us so much about how people feel, what they've experienced. I'm going to ask you to think of the ridiculous. And the ridiculous, i.e., a different type of poem, which I'm sure many of you have encountered. May not want to write them, but maybe you do. So I'm going to share my screen with you again, and I'm going to show you a different type of poem, if we can call it that. I seem to have lost it. I've lost it out of my, let me just go back into my history here. And I should be able to find it again. You can be really well prepared and still lose stuff, which is really annoying. Okay, let's go to, let me just get that through. In the meantime, I might get you to, I won't share my screen with you just yet. Let's get someone to read first while I look for that afterwards. Who would like to read next? What about you, Alan? Would you like to read your piece?
Okay, I'll do it for you.
Okay.
Okay, so this particular poem is part of a series written exploring a childhood, and some of us may actually work out how many years ago this childhood might have been. at various times, particularly if you put that photograph up that I've sent you.
That's right.
But anyway, this is one of a memory of the local swimming pool, and which was the focal point of our lives before the internet and before home telephones. So you were actually sent out and go out and stay out until the streetlights came on, sort of thing. So anyway, here's the poem, Breaking the Ice. To break the ice on summer mornings, we ran track-suited, clutching dew-damp towels, jandals flopping up the road to the pool, and shivering, stripped to togs and Olympic imaginations, shouted encouragement and dived through the morning haze into the water. Robbie, with his polio leg dragging on the poolside, urged us on, length after length, seeking records in our efforts. His representative dreams frustrated, and we, exuberant, tried to beat his stopwatch through its count, until tired, we stopped and slid over the ropes and gasped for breath. Proving manhood, we tied buckets to our feet, and dragging them, swam ever-increasing distances, our shoulders taut, straining to keep our bodies straight, our heads above the wash of flailing arms. On Wednesdays, we stood and waited in the cooling dusk as parents, ever helpful, organized races, took times, compared notes on those whose promise could bring success, and comforted those for whom tearful defeat came wrapped in towels and mother's arms. On moonlit Sunday mornings, coming home from Saturday's dances and daring coffees, we crept with girlfriends and whispered caution through the hedge into the pool. In the secure dark of the changing rooms, we stripped, hung our clothes on nails, and slipped out into the night. Our bodies silvered in the water's luminescence, temptations of shadows and curves, until curiosity led us to touch, to stroke phosphorus from our hair, and murmuring sink beneath the water to become explorers in another world.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Excellent.
And I want to show you that photo again. And then, Alan, you can tell us which one is you. Okay.
You can try picking me out first.
Okay. All right, guys. Which one of you? This is like a chocolate bar here for you. If you can guess which one is Alan. Let's see if I can make the picture a little bigger. Okay, there we go. Take a pick. There are all these handsome blokes there.
I know it. I know it.
Okay, let's hear it.
Look out for stripes.
Yeah.
Okay, look out for the stripes, guys. Do you see the stripes?
Right-hand side of the screen.
Yes. This handsome, tall young man here, am I right?
Yeah. Age about 15, I think.
He's about 15 in those swanky striped trunks. Well done. Thank you for sharing. And that was such a superb poem, Breaking the Ice. That's what it was.
Actually, Bernadette, I came across a poem just as I was pulling my book out.
Yes.
That I've got for librarians, but I'll read it later if you've got time.
Yes, we have time. Would you like to read it now?
Oh no, okay. This one's called On Being. I'll give you the challenge to actually name if you can identify the books or the authors as well.
Wow.
Okay. It's called On Being Asked to Name 10 Books That Have Meant Something to Me. Responding to the challenge thrown in passing from the stage, I gaze into memories of secret moments, torch-lit blankets, early mornings huddled in dim-lit kitchen, lost in distant worlds of dusty book-piled storerooms, browsing in bookshops, libraries, church fair stalls and forgotten attics to find titles, bundles of dog-eared magazines, rough-tied, marked down for ready sale, in exchange for hard-earned coin to take me falling through rabbit holes to crackling school radio readings of Prester John, 39 steps leading to Burroughs, to Hope, to Henty, and worlds real only in my mind. To become a giant treading through Lilliput, huddling fearful in Brobdinagia, and neighing with homonyms until cast from Laputa, returning home to disbelieving family, only to discover in the sand of memory a naked footprint shattering the Crusoe dream. In later years, an earthbound Daedalus, I journeyed through Dublin, treading Joycean temptations known only from the page, suffering agonies of guilt and spiritual description, until in some hidden recess of room 101, the fears were exposed, found wanting and expelled. I entered a brave new world, only to suffer miserably, hunched against gargoyles as the crowd jeered, then opening yet another cover, and full of expectations, I could hurl myself from the tar into a new discovery, a new life fought hard amid the pages.
Excellent. Yeah.
Okay.
That is something. James Joyce, The Dubliners?
Yes.
For
Ulysses.
one. Ulysses, yes, definitely.
39 steps.
Tremendous.
Yeah.
Wow. Any other ones in there that you want to tell us about?
Gulliver's Travels.
Gulliver's
Yes.
Travels? Okay. Now, you know, I am having a minor mishap here in that I cannot find you guys. I can't get you guys back on my screen.
Ah.
Uh-huh. What was for? Yes, and I'm just gonna try and get myself out of this pickle so that I can get you guys back on my screen again. Because if I can't get you back on my screen, I cannot share it with you. Okay, I may have to join in again. Let's see if I'm back again. Okay, I'm not able to get us back in again, which is super annoying. Can you still see me?
I can see you.
Yeah.
What is it?
I can.
Yeah, and I can't come back in again because I'm still in, but I just can't see you. Let me see if I can come back this way.
Have you been up to view in the right-hand top corner?
No, I've lost the whole screen itself. So it's not that I am looking at you. I'm not even looking at you. So, you know, you can all misbehave and I won't know. So, Lena, would you like to just take over while I try to get me back?
Yep, sure. I'll take over. I'm not a poet, so I can't really take over that much, but maybe we'll have, can we have Rosa read hers, or we can't because we're losing you, are we? Then we...
Yes. No, you can go ahead and get Rosa to read. Rosa,
That'd be lovely.
if you don't mind, I would love to hear you read because I can still hear you all. I just can't see you.
Would you mind, Rosa?
Yes, I'll do it. Okay, this is ode to these cicadas. In February, the cicadas break free. They come aloud and clamoring, invading our lives, trees and foliage. Their whirring chant pierces our hearing, creating that relaxing background for our sunny summer days. After a long life as larvae in deep dark burrows underground, one summer night the nymphs surface, Attaching to a tree trunk, they let the night mold them into adulthood. By the morning, their transparent wings are expanded and are ready to fly. In branches and trees hidden from our sights, the cicadas live their parallel lives. The male cicada, hitting their wings against the surface, produce a clamorous and longing song dedicated to a silent female waiting in another branch, ready to fly to the source of the poles. We humans, birds, animals are only the unwitting audience of a summer's love call, while we keep on living our lives and enjoying our summer days.